days passed. Jaune was just sitting on a bench looking into nothingness. Jaune then walked up to him with the new prosthetic given to her by Atlas. Jaune, are you gonna stay there and mope, or are you gonna do something? Jaune. So this is what a Branwen looks like? You remind me of Uncle Crow. Jaune. Fuck off. Jaune. Now that's not how you talk to a lady. Jaune. I'll keep that in mind when I find one. Jaune. Oh ho ho. Your tongue is still sharp. Jaune. Leave me alone, Yang. I'm not in the mood. Jaune. Then get off your sorry ass. Amber would have told you the same thing. Jaune. What the fuck did you say? Yang. You heard me, Johnny boy. Jaune. You better back off, Xiaolong. Yang. Only when you move on. This is not what she would have wanted for you. Jaune then grabbed a nearby wooden sword. As lightning formed around it. Jaune. Don't fuck with me, Xiaolong. This has nothing to do with you. Yang. When it comes to my little brother, it does. She then looks at Jaune, and a flicker she remembered Adam, but she steeled herself. Her brother is drowning, and he needs someone to pick him up. Jaune, come on, you got more to say. Yang. Yeah, you've become weak. Jaune went in for a wild swing. Jaune. What do you know? He then used his semblance to speed behind Yang as he kicks her away. Yang was able to recover as Jaune went flying in for a lightning strike. Jaune, you're too naive, Yang. Yang, yeah. You know, Jaune, you and I, our roles could have been reversed. Then Jaune just went in for a punch as Yang did the same. The day goes by as the sore ended in a draw. Jaune and Yang was laying on the grass exhausted. Yang, you know, I was jealous of you. Jaune looks at her tiredly. Yang. You always seem so strong and so sure in your life. When Raven left me, I was so lost, and Dad wasn't much help himself. But Summer held us together, and one day then everything went to shit. Uncle Crow usually comes by to help us, but even that wasn't enough. One day I had to do something, and I stepped up and held everything together. Jaune sat up as he looks at the sunset with a sad look. Jaune, that was pretty brave of you. And you were just a little girl then, huh? Yang. Yeah, I was just 10 when I had to do it. Jaune. Even so, you still had a father and a sister and an uncle. I had no one for months until I met Mother, and that was enough. Society hated me, so we were better off in the wilderness. I never asked to be born as a faunus and a human. But the world hated me for simply being born. Then for the first time I met someone else. Someone who didn't judge me. Yang, can you tell me more about her? Jaune inhales as he speaks with a little croak in his voice. Jaune. She saw me. She simply saw a kid her age. She saw me as a person. Then the days go by and we became good friends. And then one day she had to leave because of something important. But we made a promise to meet again someday. But that ended in. He begins crying but tried so hard to keep it in. Yang then hugs him hard. Yang, don't be you. Right now, just let yourself fall apart. I'll hold you together. Jaune, you said you were jealous of me? You shouldn't be. It feels like the world wants to rip everyone away from me. It's exactly the opposite. You had everything I wanted. A loving family, a welcoming home, and good friends. They both cried into the night, as Saya was behind a tree watching over them. Saya, you're finally seeing what you truly wanted, huh? Somewhere to belong. I guess it's time to help Raven hunt down those damn dogs. She left jumping on trees. The next day, Yang was being helped by Jaune overcoming her trauma during their spar. Yang still had some shakes, but days later she landed a punch in Jaune's face. He was glad she was somewhat getting back her old self, even its piece by piece. Jaune was now sporting a supplemental cybernetic implant for his lost eye. Now they were getting ready to join Blake. As Ruby had many friends during her travels, as Penny joined her after getting away from Atlas during the siege. Blake and Weiss are the only ones alone, but Blake was dealing with a threat to her life. She will need all the help she can get. Yang, do you think that the people of Menagerie will be welcoming? Jaune, yeah, if you're with me. Me and teacher Saya spent a lot of time doing jobs there that the town know us already. They were in a ship inbound for Menagerie. The White Fang is about to get their teeth kicked in.